Hello everyone. Welcome back to Polly Podcast, the one and only place for your direct audio line to the Pollyverse. If you want to read the blog posts instead of listening to the podcast, then check it out on Pollyverse.com. And a little update before we begin. I've been away for a little while from doing the podcast. I have been working on some big projects, so that's exciting. Pollyverse Radio, you may have heard of. If not, you will hear of it soon. It's an exciting project coming up. Also been starting some new writing projects, putting out more fleshed out audio versions of stories with music and things like that. And yeah, just exciting stuff all around. So that's the reason for that. As I've said before, I tend to get absorbed into thing after thing after thing and then stretching myself thin over everything. But we're focusing in on one thing at a time and then darting back and forth in a high intensity sort of motion to get things rolling across the board. So anyway, today is a short little post that I actually wrote up on the blog like 2 months ago. And it's from New Year's Day, I believe. From January 1st is when this event happened. So basically how it went down was on January 1st, my partner Emma and I, we went for a walk or a hike through the hills of Kalamunda, and something we like to do. I think it was a new trail that we hadn't been to before. It was really beautiful. It was still hot. Christmas was 40 degrees, a week earlier, and it was this area where there was a stream running down the mountain or the hill. Yeah, I don't know when a hill becomes a mountain, but I guess it was quite a gradual drive to get up there, and then we're walking up even higher, so maybe it was, I don't know. So I was surprised to see water running down this hill, because I had been to places not unlike this one in similar areas before, and it's always dried up. So that was kind of nice, It felt good to see water running in, WA, which sees so little rainfall, especially around summer. And we're walking up the hill, our backs are to the city, and eventually we turn around and we're watching the sunset over the city, and you can see it's just like this really picturesque moment. If you've ever been to Kalamunda, you're sort of, you're still close to Perth City, but you're just outside enough and high up enough to where you can view the entire city very neatly, sort of in this condensed little area, way, way down there somewhere. And it's pretty nice. It can be a nice moment if you let yourself enjoy it and soak it all up. So we were basically, after that, we walked back to the car, and dusk was setting in. It was starting to get a bit darker now, and some young guys walked up to us, and Emma later said she was worried about this because they were just like directly approaching us in the dark, and I don't know if I even noticed. But they told us that our car had been broken into and that theirs had as well. And they asked us for advice. They seemed like they might have been foreign exchange students or something like that. So they didn't really know what to do. And, Emma was advising them, talking to them about it. And I sort of went to check out the situation with the car. And saw, the driver's side window was smashed in, and we'd left small, little tote bags like under our seats, Because I've actually never had my car broken into before, so I guess I've taken that for granted. But nothing was visible. There was no wallets or phones or cards or cash or anything visible in the car. It was hidden away. But those 2 tote bags, Emma's and my own, were both stolen, of course, and it didn't have our phones in the bags, but it had Emma's keys, both of our wallets, which had had my driver's license, my national identity card for Sweden. I probably shouldn't have that on me when I'm living in Australia, but oh well. I've learned that lesson now. Bank cards, everything, all that sort of stuff. Luckily, I had my keys on me, of course, because, I need the keys to unlock the car later. So, it was... oh, yeah, and some of Emma's important medication was taken as well, which kind of sucks. And, none of us were angry or particularly upset about it, but we were kind of frustrated because it's an inconvenience. And, you have to cancel all your cards. You have to contact insurance agencies to get the windows fixed. Or if you're unlucky and you don't have insurance, then it's, a fair bit of money to fix glass on your car and to replace medication and things like that. And, changing of house locks, that was an issue that Emma was considering as well, in case they somehow had her address from other things in her wallet maybe. And contacting the police, to make a report so that even if, no one's caught and you don't get your stuff back, you have to do that for insurance purposes as well. There's a lot of sort of loopholes you got to jump through. And, but we felt more bad for the foreign exchange students because they seem to have lost pretty important items to them, like their papers and passports and things like that they mentioned. But somehow they weren't too worried, and they sort of drove off while we were making our police report. So, okay. I hope they're doing all right. I'm sure they figured something out, but I'm sure it was a lot of hours wasted trying to work around, the important documents that they'd lost. I actually found my wireless earbuds, which somehow had fallen out of my tote bag that was stolen. I was quite surprised. I was like, whoa, okay, this was the most valuable thing in the tote bag. I don't know how much they're worth, but I think it was maybe $200. That was more than everything else that was in the bag, so I was glad that they left that behind. And, I searched around the car for any evidence or belongings, and Emma talked through those things with the police as well over the phone. It was funny, I came across my roll-on stick of deodorant outside of the car on the gravel. And I thought, okay, they ditched my deodorant, fair enough. I keep a little, stick of deodorant in my bag for after workouts or something like that. And I was like, well, you could have left behind maybe my skincare oil. That would have been nice. Because I have dermatitis. I got some vitamin E oil in the bag. And I have breath mints, but no, they didn't leave those behind, unfortunately. And I feel kind of bad as well, it's like, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't the worst thing ever to happen. It just felt bad, It's like, Emma and I in particular, we try to do positive things in our day-to-day life. We try to advocate for the right political causes to help people affected by inequality and things like that, and donate to charities and things like that as well. And we generally we're cleaning up the hiking trail as well. That's just a fun thing we like to do, is clean up any trails that we go to, because you're always going to find some in Australia, you're always going to find like beer bottles along the trail and cans or like McDonald's bags and stuff like that. It's annoying to see, but we don't mind cleaning it up. So, and I feel bad for the people that did this because obviously they probably needed, whatever they hoped to acquire from the robbery more than we did. But, they didn't really get anything out of it. And, you kind of wish you could talk to these people, and if they could, be open and honest and maybe ask you genuinely, maybe you would be more inclined to help them. So it's unfortunate. But anyway, the point of this story was not so much that for me to, virtue signal or to complain or anything like that. It was actually to talk about something else that was in my bag that was taken, which was my notepad. So I always keep a notepad on me, usually in a tote bag or backpack, in case I want to write something and I don't have, it's kind of annoying to write things on your phone and you're not always near a computer. So my notepad was stolen, and I searched all around for that because that was the thing that I cared about most that was taken out of the bag, because I do copy down stuff from my notepad onto the computer, but not regularly. Just every few months when I feel the need to continue working on something that I've written. So there was a lot of poems. There was half a pilot episode for a web series that I want to make written out in there. A bunch of things like that I have vague memories of how they roughly go, but I won't be able to recreate them. So that was a little bit sad. But that's led me to remind myself of something that I've thought about before when it comes to my personal process of creativity. And that's okay, so it might sound a bit weird, and I have a tendency of thinking about things in this, philosophical, brooding and whimsical kind of way. But I don't know, if anyone's friends with me in real life, I'm not the most talkative or outgoing person. I like to listen and observe. So when I'm in front of the computer, or when I'm writing, or when I'm thinking internally, that's where all the words come out, and that's where they're all stored. So this is how, when I think about things and process them in my head, I make up those thoughts with a lot of words. And, as I'm sure I've said before on here, I'm into self-improvement, things like that, and creating my own internal philosophy. So it might come across very serious, but this is kind of just a process that I have in my thinking when it comes to my personal creativity. So basically, I would often speak with my mum in particular about a lot of my crazy ideas and projects when I was just getting into them, when I was a little bit younger. And she would say to me, she'd be mutually excited about some of the stuff because I had a passion for it and things like that. And she'd say to me that I should be maybe copywriting some of these ideas or things in some way. Also, I don't know why I have my headphones on. Give me a sec, sorry. Yeah, she's like, actually, I'm used to wearing my headphones now. That's kind of a weird thing, isn't it? It's easier, it feels more natural to speak out loud when my ears are muffled. I don't know what that's about, but take that as you will. Anyway, that's a tangent. So yeah, she would say, maybe you should be copywriting some of your ideas before you put them out in the world, And I definitely understand the use of those kinds of systems when it comes to original intellectual property. But, I also know that there's a bit of a hassle and a lot of costs associated with it. And I think it's a bit of a value judgment to be made by each individual. But personally, especially when it comes to creativity, not like a new technology or something like that, new business sort of thing. I'd rather spend my time pursuing the creative act itself as much as I possibly can, because it's so easy to be distracted, And if it ever became possible for me to apply for patents or whatever through an agent or publisher of some kind, then in a lot of cases, I might find it pretty beneficial for someone to pursue that on my behalf. This is really forward thinking, but if you had like some crazy, like Marvel Universe type thing, you wouldn't really want someone copying the exact unique characters that you have or something, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example, maybe something along those lines. Especially the way I think of it is the last thing you want is for a bigger company to take someone small, like someone almost independent, someone small, a smaller creator, take their idea and then mass market it without their input. That's, which you hear of happening with musicians or things like that. And, that would be really horrible, but also I'll talk a little bit about my thinking with that. So even if that situation were to occur and someone were to copy something almost word for word that I had written and create a successful product of some kind out of it, then I don't think I would be overly furious about it. It would definitely bother me, but my personal philosophy with creativity is that you should always be capable of something better than, what you've put out there. And that's hard to say because, creativity is subjective, but if you think you've hit your peak with that one thing, then you should stop, right? You have to sort of have this belief in yourself. I know this doesn't apply to everyone, but this is how I think of it for myself. You have to sort of have this belief in yourself that you're always pursuing a greater idea, or you're expanding upon your old knowledge and creating a newer thing and enhancing your old things, because everything's inspired by something, and with every new thing that you create, you're taking influence from all the old things. So surely you will naturally progress. Right, it makes sense. So if someone were to pick up something that you put out there and steal it, then you should be able to make something even better. And then, and then when you have a better thing out there, you just be like, yeah, they stole my shit, but I don't care because I can make something better than that anyway. And then they're never going to live up to what you could create because you're the originator of those products in the first place. So I don't know, it's a motivating sort of mantra that I have when it comes to that type of thing. And it might sound kind of brutal or rough, but it depends on each person's personal goals. It definitely won't apply to everyone. But like I said, my goal sort of in life has always been self-improvement, personal development, internal growth, those sorts of things. And when it comes to the subjective nature of creativity, the only opinion that matters to me is my own, really. Sometimes I let other people's opinions affect me a little bit, but usually I just make sure that I'm happy with it. That's the most important thing. And I don't know, I know this, some of that can sound weird, but I think it's nice. It works, it fits together in my brain, so to speak. And Yeah, exactly. If your goal is to become financially successful with your creativity, then your metric is going to differ for sure. Because the measure of your success will be based on other people's opinions and not necessarily the continual evolution of your own abilities, which is what I always want within myself. To create something successful out of my creativity is a bonus. If that ever were to happen, I have fantasies about putting out a book one day that everyone thinks is awesome or something like that. But I don't hardcore pursue it. Like I said, I wrote half a book almost 2 years ago now. Time's gone really fast, like over a year ago now. And I've added like one chapter to it since. Eventually I will finish it, but I have all these other things I want to do as well, because that created new understandings within me and new ideas within me, and then I wanted to pursue those as well and keep evolving. And then when I come back to the book, I'll probably rewrite half the thing because I'll be even better at it now. But that's the other part of this blog post that I wrote as well. You can't keep everything to yourself as a creative person. You kind of do have to, or you can actually if you really want to. Maybe it's, some people will write letters to themselves in the forms of poetry as like a self-growth, and then they'll throw it in the bin. That's awesome. But I like the idea of sharing things to see what other people can get out of it as well. Not in like a self-righteous sort of way, morally superior kind of way, but just like, it's nice. I get so much of my pleasure out of the world from creative things that people have put out, movies, TV shows, music especially, books, everything out there, poetry, whatever it is. So I kind of want to add to that because that's what I love as well. And yeah, so why I kind of shared this little episode and story with you and these thoughts today is because I am a little bit saddened that I couldn't share everything in that notepad that I had written. There was a few really funny and interesting poems in there, I remember. I sort of have them in the back of my mind. But, at the same time, I also want to say that, as I've reminded myself, that those poems and stories, they were written and they might be lost. Maybe someone held on to them for fun and opened it up and is laughing at them every now and again because they think it's hilarious, and because there were some funnier ones in there, and maybe they just laugh at the serious ones as well, which is all good and fun. But because they were written, they still exist. The simple act of writing down these stories and poems has had an effect on me. And I will go on to create more based off of those old ones and even better ones. Just like with the example of someone writing letters to themselves or to someone else, but then not giving it to anyone and throwing it away after they've written it. It's an act of self-growth. It helps you to express your feelings and to understand yourself and things like that. It's the exact same. So, yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading from the blog post so I can remember what my thoughts were immediately after everything happened. So just like copying down the pages of a textbook for study, practice improves us, if you would believe it. Even if I had lost 100 pages of the book that I'm writing, I would continue on. I hope so. And it would undoubtedly be even better than it was before, because I've already written those old things. They're still in my mind in some way. I've been studying the textbook, you know what I mean? I'm going to expand on them next time. I'm going to make it better. But that's not to advise you for the absolute pursuit of perfection. I've seen that a lot, and people will never ever put something out there because they're always wanting to tinker it and stuff like that. And I've been, a victim of that myself, for sure. But you have to remember, everything is as it is. Creativity is so subjective. It's absolutely imperfect and perfect all at once. And the world needs finished projects for future reference. You can always go back and expand upon it. So for the sake of me, for the sake of other creative people out there, please don't keep everything for yourself. Be a little bit vulnerable and put your stuff out there. Put your practice out there as well. That's why the internet can be great, Even if it comes across as like cringy Instagram poetry and stuff like that. Whatever it is that you do, tunes, funny memes that you make, little short comedy sketches or films, just put it out there. It's great to share. And I guarantee someone will want to see it eventually. So I hope in some small way this is, helpful in going through your own thought process if you're a creative person, or maybe you found something relatable in it. If you're not, I'm not sure. But I'm going to leave you on this message. With some luck, we can even add a little bit of our own good into the world with our creativity. And I'm going to keep it at that. I was going to expand on that, but no, I'm going to keep it at that. So thanks for tuning into today's episode. Actually ended up being longer than I thought. And I'm going to see you not too soon, because I'm going to record another episode directly after this. So bye-bye.